Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Run in the Paint recap. Today is Thursday, May 21st. I'm Miles here with Ben. Ben, how are you doing today?
Doing good as usual, and another interesting Spurs Thunder battle we're gonna get into.
Yeah, let's get right into it. Game two of the Western Conference Finals. And Ben, like you said, it was very interesting. We had the Thunder with a big bounce back victory, defeating the Spurs 122 to 113 to tie up the Western Conference Finals at one game apiece. Big time bounce back game for the Thunder after falling in game one in that double overtime classic. This game, the Thunder were the team that was finally going on these runs to go up double digits. The Spurs kept responding every single time, but the Thunder made the plays down the stretch to close this one out, Ben.
Yeah, Thunder they did great at just executing the right way down the stretch. Like the Spurs, they kept fighting hard, but they got some big stops to end, some clutch shot making. Like SGA, that one clutch shot for them from the mid range spot, and I was impressed with just how later on in the game Isaiah Hardstein came up with with some big rebounds to keep the Thunder, in, and I was impressed with the way he bounced back in the game. Thought he was able to guard Wemby well at times, and his rebounding was really good. Except, I mean, I did think he got away with some grabbing on Wemby, but overall, I liked his intensity still.
Yeah, a terrific bounce back game for Hartenstein. I mean, coming after game one, where he only played 12 minutes, got pulled pretty early in that game. And Ben, we were saying on here pretty much we thought he was unplayable. In this series, we just
Yeah,
didn't think that that was going to work. But Mark Daigneault, the great coach he is, decided to go with him again, and Hartenstein was able to adjust beautifully by going after Wemby on the glass. He had those 8 big offensive rebounds. And it was so important for the Thunder to get those second chance opportunities in this game. They were able to out rebound the Spurs by one in this game, which is a big difference from game one, where Wemby had 24 rebounds himself in game one, and the Spurs had like 60 as a team. The Thunder did a much better job on that end as well. I think before we keep on going, something that was very important with this game that we have to talk about are the injuries that happened in this game. Now, for the second straight game, Ben, no De'Aaron Fox for the San Antonio Spurs, out with that ankle sprain that was suffered at the end of their second round series. And then in this game, Jalen Williams, the all-star J-Dub, for the Thunder, who has been dealing with a hamstring injury really the entire season, was limited to, around 30 plus games in the regular season, was out, from game two of the first round all the way to, till game one. And he re-aggravated the hamstring injury, so he had to go out in this game. We don't know exactly what his availability is going to be like going forward. And for San Antonio, who is already without De'Aaron Fox, Dylan Harper, who's been stepping in as the essentially the starting point guard, you could say, or the two guard for the Spurs as a rookie, has done a terrific job. He went down with a leg injury in the second half, and he didn't play in the rest of the second half. So Ben, unfortunately, here we've had two phenomenal games between these two teams, but it appears that injuries are starting to become a factor here for both sides.
yeah. Fortunately, there are a few injuries in this one. Like G Dub played in the first quarter, looked good, and then some in the second quarter he had that wrist thing, and we weren't too sure. Like even after he checked out what was going on, at least to me for a little while, but then found out it was a wrist thing. It's like, oh man, he just can't catch a break with that. It's just definitely unfortunate there for J Dub, and big part of how the series could be going forward is he might possibly miss the rest of the series. Who knows? I don't know when he would come back. I mean, the Thunder, they've known how to play well without him. be tough if they lost him, but they could figure things out. And then he had the Harper injury. That was yeah, tough roll to the ankle. He seemed desperate to want to go out there, but I think the traders for the Spurs, at least what I saw, wanted to be cautious, and he went back to the locker room, just ruled out for the rest of the game. Hopefully, it's nothing too bad. He could play next game. I don't know. And then like Darren Fox, he was out again. And this one, I was guessing he was going to come back, and somehow still not yet. So yeah, it's fortunate seeing these stars injured. Hopefully, they could get more healthy and get back in it later in the series.
Yeah, no question about it. So that'll be something that we have to look at going forward. But as far as this game, even with those injuries that were going on, I think on the Oklahoma City side of things, we mentioned Isaiah Hartenstein. I think he led the Thunder role players into having a much better game in this one. Of course, we'll talk about Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, his bounce back performance, going for 30 points, making the big dagger step back mid range shot in the final minute. But the role players off the bench, I mean, I don't know how many times in a conference finals game, Ben, that you'll see four bench players score in double figures. But that's what Oklahoma City got in this game. They got contributions from so many different players throughout the lineup.
Yeah, the bench was big for them, and Alex Caruso once again was big off the bench. Like, he's plus minus in this game, a plus 18, and he had 17 points. He was fishing on offense again, which was impressive for him. It's been a good offensive series for him for 2 games, impressively, and he always makes a good impact defensively too. And McCain hits a big freeze, sort of midway through the second half to help extend the Thunder's lead even more. He had 12, and AJ Mitchell looked a bit better this game. 10 points, 4 steals. He did some impressive stuff in the defensive end. So did Casey Wallace. Did he got 4 steals too. So the Thunder, they forced San Antonio to turn it over 21 times, which was too much from San Antonio, especially Castle. He had 9. He struggled more to taking care of the basketball, but it was big for the Thunder. They were able to force a lot of turnovers, which helped to get out and transition multiple times and get good looks there. And that was what was successful for them in last year's playoffs, with them winning the title.
Yeah, the points off turnovers in this game were super important for the Thunder. And the Spurs had 21 turnovers in game 1 as well. They really struggled with taking care of the basketball as well. But it didn't feel like as much of a problem because it felt like the Spurs defense was so strong that the Thunder weren't able to really capitalize off them. This game, it was a problem. And through 2 games, Stephon Castle, who, again, without De'Aaron Fox in game 1 and for Dylan Harper for most of the second half of this game, it's a second-year player that's asked to be really the only ball handler, the full-time point guard on this Spurs team. And through 2 games, he has 20 turnovers for the Spurs, and that is certainly not going to cut it through the rest of the series against this Thunder team. Because, like we talked about, the Thunder have feasted off of turnovers. It's probably the biggest reason why they've been such a dominant force, over the last few years.
Yeah, just they're a great defensive team, and they played even better on that end today with the rebounding going well and getting more steals. So credit the Thunder with that. They guarded Wemby better. Wemby only had 21 points. Still some impressive tip ins. I couldn't believe he got to go in, but overall was better defense. The big men were guarding him more, which was what I was wanting to see for the Thunder, and worked better, I thought, at least in this game.
Yeah, absolutely. We talk about some of the crazy plays that Wemby had. I think that the big ones were the few times where he put up a shot and then just went up on the second jump, got his own rebound and tipped it in. Almost feels like he was missing the first shot on purpose just to pass it essentially to himself. It was crazy some of
Yeah.
those putbacks that he were having. And I think we would be remiss if we didn't talk about the play of the game, maybe the dunk of the playoffs that Stephon Castle had in the second quarter over Isaiah Hardenstein. That was monstrous. His head was over the rim. That was a huge play from Stephon Castle, and that's gonna be one of those plays that you remember from this series, and if this is a rivalry for the next few years, that's gonna be one that you remember.
Yeah, that is one you could remember for sure. Yeah, it's going crazy when he had that poster dunk over Arnstein. I couldn't believe he did that, but he actually has great athleticism for a guard, and he scored it well today, Castle. Like, overall, still a good game, but it's just the turnovers that are, still the main thing is to clean up. But yeah, that was a crazy play.
Yeah, it really was. Let's talk about the MVP, Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, who again, after being pretty inefficient in game one of this series, came back and had 30 points, 9 assists, 12 of 24 from the field. Including the big step back mid-range jumper on the left wing late when the Spurs had gotten it down to a 5-point game in the final minute. And then Shea made that shot to put them up 7 and give them that distance for good. Ben, what did you think changed for Shea in this game, as compared to his struggles in game one?
I think what sort of helped him later on in the game was Dylan Harper. He defended well in that game one. He had 6 steals. I think it helped him a bit not having him guard him, at least down the stretch. But he did get off to a more efficient and better start, even too. I just think, it was some rust he had game one. He admitted himself. Well, I guess he said himself he should have did better during the rest period since he thought, he didn't look the best in game one, but then he seemed to have more rhythm in this one, and he definitely looked even better, and he just, was great at being able to get to all the spots he was hoping to get to in this game, and he did a great job at, taking advantage of good opportunities he thought he got from the Spurs defense.
Yeah, would totally agree. A big time bounce back performance for Shea Gilgeous-Alexander. As we look ahead to game three on Friday night, of course, we'll preview it more in depth on tomorrow's podcast. But, the series being tied up at one game apiece and these injuries on both sides, it's certainly going to be very interesting to see what happens here. Again, we're not sure of the availability on any of these players. So far, San Antonio has been very, you could say, mysterious on the Dylan Harper injury. They have not specified anything about it past that it is a leg injury. So we don't know if this is, a strain. We don't know if it's a sprain. We don't know what it is. Now, Dylan Harper, did try to run back out to the floor to come back, but the Spurs staff told him to go back and err on the side of caution, which I think was the right decision. They got the game one win, so splitting in Oklahoma City to start the series, I think it's a win for them. But man, if Harper and Fox are both out for game three, or potentially longer in the series, we don't know the status for Fox either, Ben. How concerned are you about the Spurs, chances of winning this series if they're missing both Fox and Harper?
Yeah, I would think it's a bit concerning, though. I still think they would have a chance because at least Wemby would still be playing. At least they have Castle playing, who has played pretty well, but just needs to cut down on turnovers. Like, if he just they cut down more on the turnovers. Like, I think they could get put in better situations to win, and maybe if they do that at home, they could steal a game still at home. But yeah, I think the Spurs could hopefully adjust well from tonight to look even better at home. I mean, it would be tough if that somehow was the case, but you don't know yet. You might be able to get them back. Just gotta hope they come back and guys are great at stepping up on this team. I think you should continue to be confident that you have a chance as long as you make the right adjustments.
Yep, we'll see if we get any more news about their status tomorrow, or I guess later today. And hopefully we can hear about that more before tomorrow's podcast. Something that's going to be big for the Spurs is they are going to need to get better play from their bench, especially if they're missing some of their point guards again. It felt like they really didn't get anything from their bench. Today it felt like Keldon Johnson struggled from the field. He did a great job on the offensive boards, but he didn't shoot the ball well. The non-Wemby minutes have not been good because of the point guard injury. We saw Jordan McLaughlin minutes, and he's someone that he's had a good career as a small backup point guard, but doesn't have much experience playing for the Spurs this year. So it's just going to be something interesting to look forward to. And of course, Oklahoma City, their role players were playing great. Chet Holmgren was better in this game. But how is that going to look on the road? We shall see. That game again on Friday. I guess, interesting thing here, Ben. Last thing I'll ask you before we move on here. Through 2 games of this Western Conference final, with the split between the Spurs and the Thunder and these injuries that are going on, who do you think has the bigger advantage through 2 games of this series as this shifts to San Antonio? Do you think a team has an advantage right now through 2 games?
It's hard for me to tell. It, because these teams are even with each other around there, I would think. But I, I guess I would give the Thunder a bit more advantage, though. It could go either way. I mean, I like the Spurs' chances still at home as long as they make the right adjustments and they play, just overall great team ball, both ends there, and Wemby could hopefully go off in front of the home fans. But yeah, I mean, I just keep Thunder a bit more to edge since some of the uncertainty with the injuries with the Spurs. But like, even when you know, guy could be out. I mean, like I said before, they still step it up and play well. But obviously, hope if you're healthy, like I said.
Yeah, no question about it. I'd agree. I think the Thunder have the advantage going forward because if guys are out, the Thunder have, for all intents and purposes, basically played the whole year without J-Dub, for the most part. He's been out of the lineup for so many times this season. They're used to playing without him. And for the Spurs, they've only had 2 games all season where both Fox and Harper were not available in the starting lineup. So if they're both out, that could definitely be a problem. But we'll see. We'll hear more later today, and we'll see if we hear anything more before Game 3 on Friday. Meanwhile, tonight we've got Game 2 of the Eastern Conference Finals with the New York Knicks coming off of that historic comeback victory over the Cavs in Game 1, looking to take a 2-0 lead in the Eastern Conference Finals. That game 8 p.m. on ESPN from Madison Square Garden. Ben, of course, us as Cavs fans, it was, definitely tough after yesterday. I'm definitely dejected. After the game, we gave our thoughts about, the fourth quarter collapse and everything that happened. But now that we are 24 hours after that has happened, Ben, as of recording this, and we've had a day to kind of think about and go over what this could mean for the rest of the series, Ben, how do you feel going into Game 2 for these 2 teams, and has any of your thoughts changed from yesterday?
I mean, nothing too much has changed yesterday. I mean, I would say going into game 2, I think the Knicks definitely were gonna have a lot of confidence there, and just going forward for the rest of the series after they did that, I would give any team confidence points. Something off like that if they were the team that came all the way back. But yeah, Just lack of trust and consistency with the Cavs, I think, but they come out consistent somehow in game two. They have a chance. Still, I would like a stronger start in two, at least in the first quarter. The Cavs weren't the best last game in the first quarter, but it was like the second and third quarters they looked really good, and then fourth quarter, well, of course, that was a um, of course, not good at all. But
Yeah, disaster.
they, I mean, just hopefully get the bigs involved even more once again for the Cavs. They didn't. Wish still there was some more production overall out of them, like especially on the offensive end, and being aggressive in that game one and more points, and the Cavs have to take care of the basketball better, and execution just has to be consistently good throughout the game. They cannot have any bad stretches because the Knicks, I mean, over these last few years, this year too, like we've seen, they're a team that is really good at going on huge runs. If you let the Knicks go on another huge run at some point in this game, we're having an inconsistent part where we're not playing good, and it costs the Cavs again. They have to be ready for it.
Yep. I'm very excited to see how Cleveland comes out after the game, after that, game one collapse. Their mentality coming into this game is going, like, at least to start, and in this game is going to, of course, determine what happens the rest of the series. At the end of the day, it's a brutal loss, but it's one loss. I love the mindset of Donovan Mitchell after the game. I mean, the Cavs, we've said it so many times on this podcast how it's been such a roller coaster season and playoffs with them. I mean, we went through game 6 in Toronto where it wasn't a 45 minutes of real time stretch where it was a, giant collapse, but the Cavs had the lead in overtime, turned it over, and lost on a heartbreaking three-pointer from RJ Barrett. Came back and won game 7. A similar thing happens in game 1. Again, a prolonged stretch of playing poorly. But again, for the majority of the game, I'd say for 40 minutes, the Cavs completely outclassed the Knicks. So Cleveland, I think the key thing is they need to get off to, again, a good start, like you said, Ben, go on a run, where they're the team that is, playing hard defensively because they were playing great defensively before that stretch where the Harden and Brunson thing was going on. I feel like the key is, like, for the Cavs, they just need to do what they did in game 1, but then not go away from what's working. I think, again, that's the thing that was the
Yeah,
most, frustrating. Like, it felt like everything was working on both ends, and then essentially when they got up 22 points, they just stopped doing everything that was working, and it's very perplexing why that happened. But the Cavs, they definitely have a chance to bounce back. I think that they should feel confidence from the fact that, again, they were playing great and had a 22-point lead at the Garden, so they should be confident that they can win games in this series. But they're going to need to come out and try to combat any New York Knick run, that they have, because the Garden is going to be loud. I think a lot louder than it was in game 1 because it was pretty dead for most of that game until that fourth quarter comeback.
yeah. I put the kids could silence the Garden somehow for a lot of that game, but they'll be loud, especially when the Knicks come on runs the course. And yeah, I hopefully the Cavs have the right bounce back mentality. I mean, it's true, like they have had some bad losses. Like I would say, the game one loss is the most brutal loss they had in the playoffs. But we have seen them come back from bad losses before. I hope something like that in this game. Though it's not going to be easy. The Knicks are an even better offensive team than what the Raptors and Pistons were, but I expect the kids to fight hard, and I, I did like Donovan Mitchell's attitude after the game, taking accountability for it and frustrated. I expect him to hopefully come out hungry with the right mindset in this game.
on the Knicks side of things, I'll be curious to see what they do with their lineups throughout the game, particularly later on when they went away from Josh Hart and they put Landry Shamet on the floor, and they basically just had a whole bunch of shooters around with Jalen Brunson when they played the matchup hunting game to get Harden on Brunson. They didn't get a whole lot of production from their bench besides the Mitchell Robinson rebounds in the first half. The Cavs did go to the hack a Mitch in the third quarter when they were up, which did get the Knicks out of rhythm. So again, I thought even the Cavs had a very well coached game before that, stretch in the fourth quarter because of what they did to Mitchell Robinson to get him off the floor. The attention to detail was great. Like the Cavs just need to replicate their performance from the first 40 minutes and just keep it up for the full 48. And I think they should be good. Now, of course, New York is most likely going to play a lot better. That may have been the worst game that they play in the series coming off of the long break that they had after their sweep of the 76ers. But you'd expect the Knicks to shoot better, maybe keep on the momentum that they had from the end of game one. We'll see how Karl Anthony Towns played. Something that I think was also encouraging for the Cavs was that thought the Cavs defended him pretty well. Like Towns didn't really have that great of a game, like 7 turnovers. Some of the fouls he committed were just brutal. He did, collect some rebounds, but I thought the Cavs did a good job on their role players for the most part. Brunson just killed them down the stretch, and of course, their offense killed them. So we'll see what happens. Predictions for game 2 of Cavs Knicks. Ben, what do you think is going to happen here tonight? Do you think the Knicks will go up 2-0, or can the Cavs tie it up before it goes to Cleveland?
Well, let's say, wish I could pick the Cavs to bounce back in this one. I am gonna go for New York in this one because I think they're gonna be having a lot of confidence, and the Garden will be rocking, and I trust them to execute better than the Cavs, and they're a pretty good offensive team that I think could have another pretty good game there. I trust Brunson, if it's close, to clutch up in the clutch, and I, I think New York's just gonna be the even better basketball team this one. So yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the Knicks as well. It's gonna be tough for the Cavs to bounce back after that game one loss. I feel like for them, this probably isn't good for their overall chances to win the series, but I feel like it will take them going back home to Cleveland to get a reset of everything that happened. I hope I'm wrong, but we'll see. That's just kind of the way it feels right now. And the Knicks, rightfully so, should be feeling a ton of confidence after that comeback in game one. Again, Eastern Conference Finals game 2, Cavs and Knicks tonight, 8 p.m. on ESPN from the Garden. Last bit of NBA news. It seems like for the next few days, we're going to be getting our final bit of NBA awards, announcements starting off on Wednesday. We have the announcements of the all rookie team. So we'll talk about them. All rookie first team. We had, of course, the rookie of the year, Cooper Flagg. Con Knippel and BJ Edgecombe, all 3 of those guys were unanimously voted to the all rookie first team, along with Dylan Harper and Cedric Coward getting on. And then the second team was Derek Queen, Maxime Reynaud, Jeremiah Fears, Ace Bailey, and Colin Murray Boyles. So, Ben, what were your thoughts on the all rookie teams?
I mean, it's great. I can't complain about them. I they did a great job with all rookie teams. I think all those guys deserve getting on it, and all had, nice rookie years. Just looking at the list with both teams, to me, it's been turned out to be an impressive rookie class this year. All those guys made good contributions in different ways, and I just think they got the guys in the right spot. So it's hard to complain about it.
Yeah, for sure. I like the teams. Of course, when we did our awards show this year, we did all rookie teams, all NBA, all defensive teams, and we got basically all of them right. On the first team, the only thing that we switched was we had Derek Queen on there instead of Cedric Coward. Overall as a group, and then on the all rookie second team, we put Trey Johnson on there over Colin Murray Boyles, but Can't complain about that. I mean, obviously, us seeing Colin Murray Boyles more in the playoffs, you see the impact that he made for that team. So definitely, not bad at all. But just a terrific rookie class. I mean, even outside of those 10 guys, there were 9 other rookies that got votes for the all rookie team. So that just shows. I mean, 19 rookies from the class got recognition, which I think is very impressive. And this class, certainly impressed here in year one. I'm excited to see how they look going forward. Ben, I'm just really excited to see what they do over the next few years. Is there anyone from these lists? Of course, there's the Cooper Flags, the Con Knippel, like those top guys that you're looking forward to see. But any of these other players are looking to see how their year two is, next year compared to their rookie campaign in the NBA.
Yeah, of course. I say the two Pelicans guys, Jeremiah Fears and Queen, showed nice potential, and I can't wait to see how much more they could grow with Jamal Mosley being there as their next head coach. And Mosley, I think, is a good player development guy, so I think that's exciting for them. And I thought they should like impressive offensive flashes, and I'm curious to see how that continues and see if they can get any improvement on the defensive side with those guys, which they could possibly with Jamal Mosley there now. And just yeah, I mean, I think excited to see how much of a leap really everyone could take next year those out of out of every one of those lists. And impressive Maxine Renard made it for being on the Kings and for being a second round pick. That's impressive for him. And I think the Kings, over the last year at least, have done a good job at developing their young players, which I think is a good sign for them going forward if they keep that up. But yeah, shout out Maxine Renard too.
Yeah, it really is crazy when you look at the all rookie team. So looking through this, I'm looking back, at the draft and the overall selections. I think it's very impressive that out of the top 10 picks, that looks like 7 of them ended up making the all rookie teams, which, of course, you say, obviously that's how it should be, but that's not always the case where the top picks of the draft just come out and automatically look like they belong in the league. The only guys that didn't make it out of the top 10 were Trey Johnson, who was a runner up on there that, again, us on the podcast had Yegor Jemin on the Nets, who, was solid, but just didn't make it because of the loaded class. And then Kaman Maliwatch, who was a project. But like all those guys look like they are going to have promising futures. And then you mentioned, Ben, Maxime Reynaud as the 42nd pick in the draft to be on the all rookie teams when everyone else on the teams was a lottery pick. And then you have the 42nd pick there. Just a huge season for Reynaud there with the Kings as one of their, you could say probably their only bright spot going forward in the future. But shout out to those guys. I think what you said about the Pelicans guys, I'm looking forward to seeing what they're doing. I remember at the end of the season, I compared Derek Queen to DeMarcus Cousins because it kind of reminds me of the same thing. So I'm excited to see if that can, actually pull through and actually be a real thing. Because I think it could. I think they are similar players. We've mentioned Dylan Harper, of course, a bunch from seeing him throughout the playoffs. I'm so excited to see what he ends up being there eventually when he is the full-time starting point guard of the future. But besides those guys, man, and the top guys, I'm looking to see what Ace Bailey does next year for the Utah Jazz, to see what his role is going to be with their team going forward. Because as currently constructed, Ben, with Keontae George, Marketing Jackson, and Walker Kessler, and then the second pick of the draft, which most likely they used to select Darren Peterson. It looks like Ace Bailey might turn out to be like this ultra amazing sixth man, which might be the perfect role for him for that team as a someone that loves to take a bunch of shots. But I'm gonna be looking to see if Ace Bailey, as the 5th pick, a top 3 prospect heading into the draft last year, is willing to take that role over the next few years if that's what the team asks for him to do, and if he can thrive in that role.
Yeah, that would be interesting to look out for there with him, and I think if he's willing to take that 6-man role, he could rock there well just because he could get some more shots from off the bench. But yeah, he's Bailey. I'm excited to see him and the young Jazz, of course, for next year. Excited to see who they draft. Wouldn't be surprised if it was Darren Peterson, who I think he would fit great on that team. And now I think he's the second best prospect in the draft. So if like AJ went one, he would be the best player on the board if they took him there.
Yeah, it's just I'm already getting excited for draft time, but of course we still have a whole month of the playoffs still to go, which I can't wait to see. Because I mean that's the fun part about this. Like in past years, like we went through a long period where it felt like, all right, we know who the champion is going to be, we know who's going to win the title, and you have your ideas, throughout. Of course, this season we all have our ideas maybe of who we think is going to win the title, but at this current moment, like it's up for grabs right now. Like you can make some case for each team that's still playing to, potentially win it right now, especially with the Thunder and the Spurs being tied up right now. So we'll see what happens going forward. I cannot wait. We will be back tomorrow to talk about what happens in game 2 of Cavs Knicks. We'll see if there are any more historic moments made in that series in the conference finals. We'll see what happens, and we'll preview Thunder Spurs game 3 and talk about, I think, the all NBA team. It's either the all NBA or all defensive teams that are coming out. So we'll talk about those
Yeah,
tomorrow as well. But that is it for us here. Ben, you have anything else before we get out of here?
I do not.
Let them know from us Cavs
Yeah,
fans.
hopefully we're
Hopefully,
happy somehow, as always.
hopefully we're on here tomorrow happy. But that's it for us here, man. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, leave a like, subscribe for more NBA playoff content. Hope you have a great rest of your day, and we will catch you in the next one.
Peace.